Since most of us alive right now belong to either the baby boomer or millennial generation, if you were given the choice, which generation would you rather be? Okay, before you answer, watch this video to have a better understanding for each group. Do you know that millennials born roughly between 1980 and 2000 and baby boomers born between the mid-1940s and the mid-1960s now comprise the first and second largest living generation in the US? Well, I don't have to go too far to prove this. My siblings and I are all baby boomers born from 1950 to 1965. And my three boys are all millennials, born from 1988 to 1998. Suffice it is to say that we not only have a generation gap, but we have a communication gap as well. And it's as wide as the Amazon River. In order to bridge that gap, I have to understand what makes them think and act as they do, and vice versa. Let's start with the not-so-serious ones. Millennials love to take goofy selfies, while boomers always pose with their best angles in front of the camera. Hands down, the boomers' grandkids will be looking at better versions of their grandparents while going through their albums versus the millennials' grandchildren who will be looking at several versions of their grandparents' face, making funny faces. But then again, maybe not. Maybe it will be more fun looking at the goofy pictures of the millennial grandma. Millennials are obsessed with tattoos, body piercing, unnatural hair color, and man buns, while boomers were hippies with long hair, drugs, free love, and the use of pills. While boomers did sport long hair for both men and women, some used drugs, and others were pioneers of the sexual revolution. When they matured, the long hair disappeared, voluntarily or not, together with the drugs, but for some, maybe not cannabis, which they insist are not drugs. Tattoos for boomers were confined to indigenous tribes, soldiers, sailors, punks, and ex-convicts. Nowadays, almost every millennial has a tattoo, and not just the dainty cute little ones, but several large, prominent inks all over their bodies, permanently marking every significant milestone in their lives. Whatever happened to diaries and journals? Imagine a conversation between a boomer and her grandkid. "Hey grandma, can you tell me why you wrote this post in your diary?" And the boomer grandma goes through her diary and reminisces the good old days when she wrote those nostalgic memories. Now here's a conversation between the millennial grandpa and his curious grandkid. "Hey grandpa, can you tell me the story of your life?" So, the grandpa takes off his shirt, exposes his various body tattoos, points to each one to tell the story of his life. Millennials are more multitasking but have lesser attention span than the boomers. If by multitasking, millennials mean FaceTiming the corn boiling in the kitchen so that they could play computer games in their bedrooms while waiting for the corn to cook, then I would agree. I also find myself competing for their attention as they hardly focus to what I'm saying when they're playing computer games or scrolling with their cell phones, which is like all the time. Now on to the more serious issues. Millennials are tech savvy, while boomers are technophobes. While the first part of the statement may be true, the second part is not necessarily correct. I agree that it amazes me how the kids can just fiddle with a smartphone, smart TV, laptop, tablet and everything smart, and they intuitively know exactly what to do, even if they just open the package and have not even read the manual. For us, boomers, since we appreciate the convenience and all the advantages that come with these gadgets, we want to learn it too. And who do we normally ask to help us? It's the millennials, since this is their comfort zone. They just need to be more patient with us and remember that unlike these cradle techies, these gadgets were not attached to our umbilical cords when we were born. Millennials are lazy, entitled, and overly sensitive. They want a trophy for everything. Boomers worked hard to earn their assets, and they did whatever it took to support their family to survive and thrive. The first two statements are definitely unfair generalizations, so let's try to examine how these two statements emanated. First, let's talk about the boomer generation. We boomers were born after our fathers came home from World War II. The economy was just recuperating. Our parents, born 1920s to mid-1940s, called the silent generation, lived a tough life and taught us to work hard, be frugal, go to college, find decent jobs, create a family, buy our own homes, and retire with hopefully substantial nest eggs. Most of these boomers became wealthier than their parents. The millennials, on the other hand, were born from mostly two-income boomer parents who were now enjoying a comfortable lifestyle than the silent generation. These millennials didn't have to walk miles just to go to school. Their parents brought them at their school's doorstep, attending most of their PTAs, rooted for them during the sports fests, and proudly displayed their stars and little trophy stamps brought home from school. The millennials just had a much more comfortable life than the boomers, which probably made the former softer around the edges and wanting more of the trophies and validation abundantly bestowed on them since preschool. Millennials blame the boomers for the current environmental crisis, and the boomers blame the millennials for killing the department stores. This is a tough one. While I do agree that environmental awareness was not as prominent in our lives as it is now that it has become critical, can the boomers generation alone be blamed for its deteriorating state? The Industrial Revolution and the coal mines were termed as progress by the previous generations, but they have contributed negatively to the environment. While both generations agree that something needs to be done about it, it is the millennials who are truly living it by example with their minimalistic, zero waste, organic, and sometimes even off-the-grid lifestyle. Likewise, we can't put all the blame to the millennials for the slow death of the department stores. We have contributed to it as well by patronizing online stores because, admittedly, it is more convenient to shop online, have it delivered right at your doorsteps without the hassle of dressing up, driving to the store, and picking up the merchandise. Especially during this pandemic era, e-commerce is now the new norm. Millennials are open-minded and very careful in their language when it comes to race, gender, and life choices, while boomers can be totally insensitive and judgmental. I'm not sure if the millennials are delicate or I'm just insensitive when it comes to these issues because I say something inoffensive and harmless, at least from my perspective, and my kids would say, "Mom, don't be a racist." How can I be a racist when I'm a minority myself? Sometimes they would roll their eyes and say, I'm judgmental for my comments when I really meant no harm. It's like treading on thin ice all the time with my boys. Millennials are big into self-improvement and healthy lifestyle, while many boomers are set in their ways, unwilling to change, and convincing themselves that 60 is a new 30. Going to a gym or having a fitness membership is a priority. Millennials pay so much attention to workout regimes, life coaching, therapy, diet plans, and apps that improve their personal well-being. Admittedly, boomers can learn so much from this healthier lifestyle if they're willing to change. Millennials use an app for everything, from preparing meals to choosing dates for the night. They are on their phones 24/7, 365 days a year. We say millennials practically live on their phones, and they say that it's the only affordable place they can live in. Boomers are starting to be dependent on their smartphones too, but you seldom see them texting or scrolling during family dinner time. Boomers also don't choose their dates from a phone app, but maybe some of them use their laptops for online dating, as it has become more popular even for seniors. Here's the most alarming data that is neither a stereotype nor a cliche but is based on facts. There is an upsurge in depression and suicide among 20 to 30-year-olds, especially in the workplace. This age group has a 305% higher risk of depression than their baby boomer colleagues. Even before the pandemic, depression has been rampant among the millennials. Almost every millennial I know, to include my kids, has experienced deep depression, sometimes even contemplating suicide. I think the main reason why they seem to have less developed stress coping mechanisms than the boomers can be attributed to the fact that they have very limited actual face-to-face social interaction with people. Yes, they do have many gaming friends that they play with till the wee hours of the morning, but not the deep relationships we used to nurture when we were adolescents. If they need validation from the outside world, they turn to social media. Their posts are filtered to show happy facades that hide the actual negative feelings, because who wants to like or follow a morose person? This gives them a temporary fix until the next bout of depression, and eventually becomes an addictive, vicious cycle. In some ways, I have to accept that I may have failed parenting strategies. When they were growing up and still listening to me, I should have insisted on a strict, limited cell phone and computer usage. It would have encouraged them to do something else, like interact with actual people, share their stories face to face, and allow themselves to be bored while waiting for the next event. Maybe their patience and self-esteem would have been more developed. In conclusion, the boomers may have been born under the lucky stars with a significant increase in birth rates post-World War II, stimulating the disrupted economies ravaged by war by creating considerable rise in demand for consumer goods and employment. They were able to purchase their homes at affordable prices and survived with jobs that could support their families. In contrast, the millennials will have to deal with global warming, the worsening economy, this pandemic, and the increasing social awareness for inequality. They do have youth and passion, and they will live longer given their health consciousness, so I'm optimistic that they'll find a way out, or society will find a way to render the support they need. Lastly, I hope that instead of blaming us, they will remember us for our greatest contribution to this society. That is, their amazing existence on Earth. Thank you for watching. As usual, please like and subscribe to my channel and put your comments below. And don't forget to check the other episodes in the description below. I'll see you later.